Hey, so I thought I would go live here because I've been building a business level dashboard for my business, and as a part of this, one of the things that I've primarily been using for building that dashboard really is Claude Cowork, and so I thought I would. I mean, given all the recent changes, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's just coming fast at everybody. And so I thought I would, just quickly, um, share a couple of different things related to Claude and some of the things that are changing. I mean, one of the items overall that came out this last week was they released this new. They're calling it a plugin. I not not I don't really understand why they call it a plugin, but essentially you have skills and connectors, and then also plugins. And with the plugin, what you have the ability to do is to um, add in like these business level skills, which is fine. I think there's some opportunity with regards to um, using their plugin because it gives you like 31, I think, different skills related to your business. So if you use PayPal and you have QuickBooks connected and all that kind of stuff, then there's some real advantage to using it. But on the other side, there was a lot of things that I could see that weren't really beneficial for me and for my particular business. And so with that, I was like, well, I wonder, if you really go down this path of building out like a business level dashboard, and I've seen a few of these where people online do these and then they don't really talk about what exactly they've done. So that's kind of my purpose for today, was to talk a little bit more about what it is that I'm doing and how it's different and all those sorts of things, because um, I think by sort of experiencing this stuff together, people can understand a little bit better, and there's a real opportunity for you to get some advantage from this for your business. So that's kind of the reason for me doing this. If you are watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, there is a school community that I have. The link for that school community should be in the chat. So it's all in all, it's called Content and Conversion, and you go to SKOOL school, and that's where you would find the group. But essentially, I share a lot of these things on content and conversion. So essentially, the community that's here is about 48 people strong, and so I mean, there's a good opportunity for people to just join this group and then get even more engaged in a lot of the things that I'm building out. But to go back to the dashboard really quickly, what today's really about is this idea of, hey, could you build a business level dashboard that shows everything from, the one thing that's up here in the upper left is a product funnel. And I've anonymized all these numbers because essentially, I obviously don't want to give away everything that we're talking about here related to my business. But at the same time, there's a big opportunity to kind of look at this, in terms of one, like traffic that you have to a particular website, or people that are, joining or on a wait list or whatever, right? So you have kind of this upper level section up here. Then you have client performance, like how are your clients doing? How are they performing as well? Down here, you have your business pipeline. So, how many deals do you have in the pipeline? How many people are taking a look at the things that you're doing, and things like that, and getting people engaged there. Down here, I have this methodology called WAVES. It stands for Web Presence, Authority, Voice, Engagement, and Systems. And so with that, like where are those people that are engaged at different level of, let's say, assessments, or people that completed it over time, and things like that. And then you have things that I have to go out and continue to reinforce and to build and things like that. And also my team and where they're being engaged as well, because there's people that are doing different things related to this that are on my team. Then down here, obviously I'm producing videos, I'm doing writing things out as well. And so you got, that level. And then you got how many things that are in the queue, how many things that were shipped this month, and things like that. So the whole idea around this was to create a pipeline or a look at my business and really explore this idea of, how do I do this in a way that's important for the business itself. And so what I thought I would, actually demonstrate here is just, how do you go about creating something like this? How do you use Claude Code to take a look at ways to build a tool like this for your business? And I see a lot of people, like I said, talk about it. Not a lot of people that actually, are doing these things, live and in the public and things like that. And I think there's a real opportunity to try and you know leverage a tool like Claude Cowork, because what Cowork gives you that I would say other tools don't is it gives you the ability um, to schedule things. And so I have in my own personal um, version of Cowork, I have several different things that run on a daily basis. I have other things that run on a weekly basis. I have things that run on a monthly basis. And yesterday, I did this interview with John Geese on like running his business, and it's funny because I have this Sunday routine where I go through and I establish like, okay, so what's coming up this next week? What are the things that I need to plan out? Because I have activities that where I'm truly dedicated for, a good solid 8 hours, on a daily basis. And in addition to that, I have additional things that I have to do outside of that time. And so it has to be really well planned or it won't work, right? I mean, I'll run into an issue pretty quickly if I haven't planned out the time really well. And that's where my Sunday batch comes in, and it's something that I've been doing for a long time. I've done it on a paper basis for a long time, but what I've not done is like built those sort of things into the stuff that I do, with Claude Cowork and things like that. So I brought up my demo account here so that we could actually step through this. I mean, the whole idea is like, use this session to really step through a live version of what this would look like. If you were gonna do this on your own, this is how essentially I would go through and at least consider, a way of approaching it, right? Because you need to I think I think if you have a regular, let's say, small task, right? So I have a weekly couple of meetings. I have a school community session that I lead every Tuesday evening, and in that school session, I need materials. I need stuff prepared. In addition to that, I have daily sort of things that come out as well. Um, and all of that is in addition to like the regular content that's planned out on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or any of those kinds of places. So it's a bit, um, I want to say, different in that way that, I have, all these levels of things that sort of come out at different points in time. And so it sort of leads me to a point of, okay, so I need, some of these things, planned out. Um, so, just to come back to my screen really quickly, this is Claude Cowork. This is the desktop app, by the way. So if you go to the browser version, I think I had that up just a second ago. So if you go to the browser version, what you quickly find is that you don't have access to Cowork here. So you could see here, I've got, and this is the browser in the back, and this is the desktop version in the front. Okay. So on the back, you could see I have new chat, the regular chat that everybody's used to, the chats, then you have projects, which essentially are chats that you put in, or I guess you could say chats that you put in folders, but you also would have normally files that go along with this as well. One of the cool things that happens also is this artifacts thing. So you'll have things that get created that maybe you reference on a regular basis. I use Notion for a lot of the SOPs and things like that that we have for the business. And so the artifacts portion of this will go read, let's say, those SOPs and tell me, hey, this regular thing is happening, um, based on X frequency or whatever, and then there will be like an artifact here as well. Customize is normally where you add skills. It's something I clicked on a little bit ago, and I'll do it over here in just a second to show the other side of this. Um, and then you have Claude Code and then design. The design thing is honestly pretty cool. I used some of this on my recent website update that I did for D3, and I honestly I liked it a lot. I thought it was pretty helpful. I thought it did a nice job in creating, like a basic level layout. There's some other things that I wanted to do as a part of it, whenever I did the redesign. So, I mean, Claude Design did have a hand in it. There were a lot of things that I wound up, not using Claude Design for, and so, I stepped through. I think I did some of it in Figma. I did some, just in Claude Code itself. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty to sort of look at whenever it comes to the website, but I think the ultimate thing to get to the point here is, um, from my standpoint, the desktop app is good, but whenever you get to, or excuse me, the browser version is good, but whenever you get to the desktop app and you start using this, you really get to experience kind of that next level of capability that I feel like the team at Anthropic has created here and done a really nice job. But I do feel like there's a lot of people that just don't really understand how to use Claude Code, and that was what today's session really is going to focus in on as well, just to try and help people understand like the real benefit of this tool is in getting in here and thinking about things, but also maybe doing a little bit of brainstorming with the tool as you go through it, so that you get you get at the end of the day something that's really useful for your business. So I have a series of prompts that are going to go along with this. The way to get the prompts, of course, will be to go to my school community. So if you are really interested in seeing the prompts and maybe just leveraging these directly, you could just join the free school community. It's entirely free. The one advantage is that I get the ability to to one, know who you are and interact with you and things like that. So what I typically do with these kinds of tools, I use a tool called Super Whisper, and then I just dictate in. So I've copied my first prompt over. I'm going to dictate in my business name and in one line what I do. Um, the business name is D3 Digital Marketing, and we focus in on helping small to mid-sized companies with their visibility and capability and systems. There we go. And so that's pasted in there. Then here's what matters to me. Product signups, funnel. Yeah, so you're going to tell it, look, these are the areas that essentially, um, I want in my dashboard, right? So I think it could be even like not even like signups and funnel in this one. We could do like let's just say daily meetings I like the idea of performance across my clients and accounts. One of the things that you're going to run into that I should mention just early on here as well. So, um, the challenge that everybody I think will run into is the idea that if you have um, a dashboard like this and you need information, that having the sources connected is the best way. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, if you have, let's say that you have the need to connect your meeting minutes with your dashboard in some way, right? So one of the things that I do is I score meetings that my team has and that I have with people where it says um, these were the things that maybe somebody did right, and these are areas for improvement if you want to lead somebody towards a sale, or if you want to be able to solve problems for people or what have you. I also oftentimes will score the overall meeting in terms of follow up, right? Is there a follow up that will lead somebody to something that we offer? Is it a good example? And so for that, we use Fireflies across the team, and that Fireflies account has all the different meeting uh, note takers, and then essentially I'm able to build a dashboard that draws in those meeting notes. um, that's one example of one of these things. So whenever you look at like sales pipeline as the example here, if you go back and you look at like how that sales pipeline might look, I could do it from the CRM. I could do it from the meeting minutes themselves. I could do this in lots of different ways, right? So that's kind of that. So you just have to kind of think through what would these things actually be, and in this case, I'm taking a lot of the examples that it has, but I mean, I think that I think there's a way to do this. And if you have a methodology, so I mentioned WAVES earlier on, which stands for website, or excuse me, for web presence, authority, voice, engagement, and systems. And so if you sort of think about, like, if you have a framework or something like that that your business runs on, you could always use that for this as well, and just have that. I'm actually going to delete out this line in this case and just say, hey, look, we're going to have 4 items on this dashboard, and it says before doing any work, ask me a few clarifying questions about the scope, etc. So it's gonna go through and do that as the first part of this as well. And so I may have to use the dictation here. And so the whole idea again is to do a little bit of a live build of a dashboard. For anybody who's joined us a little bit later, I brought up the example while it's thinking. Here we go, live artifact. I don't use HubSpot, but we have. So I'm gonna mention in. So we're gonna use Go High Level. And then we've got, I don't know, maybe like, and Fireflies. I might actually have it pull from Airtable as well, because it could pull from my Airtable in this example. I'm just trying to think through how to do this. And by both, let's just give an overview at this point in time. And then I'll just say I also want to show that with the Airtable connection. You could see it's already found fireflies. It's found Airtable already. Sort of looking through, and it's able to sort of see, um, what tools are already connected. If you're going to go through and do this yourself, I can leave this area while it's thinking and show you that if you need to go and add in connections of your own, you're going to go to, not to settings, you're going to go to customize here and then go to connectors. And then inside of connectors, you could see I've already got Canva. I've got Descript, I've got Figma, Fireflies. vidIQ is a great tool for people who are creating YouTube videos and things like that. It's just a phenomenal tool. And then Airtable I've used a ton because we um, originally, whenever I was building tools, I built a tool that really focuses in on um, publishing content for people, and what it used was Airtable. It used an Airtable database more or less to sort of publish out that content. And it was the way that I did all of these posts for people, um, for a long time. And it was a great way to do it originally. And then slowly but surely it went from Airtable plus we had a tool called Metricool. So all the social posts would get sent into Metricool and then published from there. And then uh, slowly but surely, we moved everybody into Go High Level and only use Go High Level now for all the social posts that we do. Social calendars are maintained inside of there, so clients go in and they connect their own social accounts, and then we take care of the publishing. Could show you what that looks like just as a part of this so that people understand. Because I think it's important to not just talk about theory in these. I think it's important to show people what actually can be done and what the possibility is. Because if you're only talking about theory, what it sort of leads you back to is that I think a lot of people overhype stuff, and I actually just created a different video about that. But you could kind of see. So these are examples of, like, So here's a picture post, and then followed by a tweet pic post. So it looks like it was on Twitter. It was never on Twitter. But that's examples of what those posts would look like. And then we have ways to do automations and maintain calendars and do all of that stuff and Go High Level. It's the whole reason why we use it. So it's like one tool, one repository that has a massive tool set. And then I could use that set of tools whenever somebody says, "Hey, look, I want somebody that books a meeting to get this email, and I want them to get this PDF and this follow up, etc." All of that stuff can be automated. I don't have to worry about another tool where people start talking about make.com or Zapier, or N8N is another platform for doing automations. Um, I, in full transparency, I do use a bit of N8N with this whenever I developed this dashboard, and the whole idea was that I wanted a simple way for Claude Cowork to talk to the data in the CRM. And so I just told Claude Cowork, build an automation in N8N. So a dashboard like this, instead of it being, um, whatever the cost of Go High Level is about $20 more, let's say, a month. So if you went and turned around and bought an N8N automation account, that's essentially what it would cost you, is about $20 a month. And so imagine being able to run your business from one central dashboard to be able to do that. So let's go check in on Claude Cowork and how it's progressing. I just don't want to miss whenever it's looking for things. Looks to me like it's picking up like whatever it wants to inside of Airtable. So I'm going to stop it for a second. I'm going to say just use. So just use a D3 social posts Airtable. and only the content tab. Obviously, I could do this directly out of Go High Level, but my idea was to show a little variety in the example here, so you're not just getting um, you're not just getting Go High Level or HubSpot. I mean, HubSpot has a natural connector as well for Cowork. So, um, again, I would sort of come in and maybe use the prompt that I have and just say, hey, look, I'd like to brainstorm about what a dashboard could look like for my business versus just developing something generic as well. Because I think again, there's just a tremendous opportunity to leverage this tool and figure out how do I how do I do it so that it shows the right things along the way. And one of my fears is while I'm focusing on other stuff, that there's things in my business that need line of sight. So how do I do that in a way that I get fed every single day a dashboard that will support that. So as of right now, the Claude's still thinking, still sort of stuck, in this cycle, and that's one of the reasons why with this live build, I'm hoping that we can get pretty far along and I can show, a lot of this. But at the same time, if I don't get all the way there, what I can do is sort of wrap this up in the school community, so that people get, the full sense of where things are and how to move this forward for your opportunity too, because I think there's a chance that it won't finish in time, and certainly a real risk for a live version of this kind of thing. But you could see it sort of working through things. I've seen in my examples that um, sometimes it could take you know hours to complete some of these tasks. I don't think it's going to take that long given what we have here, right? So it's right now it's trying to pull uh, Airtable and get the things that it needs and all that kind of stuff, in place so that it can show a better picture of what to be able to do. But you kind of think about all the different data elements that I have in my dashboard. It's really for the most part, a lot of this data sits inside of Go High Level for me. So the product funnel itself that it's watching, the page views and all that kind of stuff these are all ones that all metrics that come out of Go High Level right here. New signups, the same thing. So we could just watch a few different numbers that this comes out of Go High Level as well. Client performance, the data for this, really shows us strongly where the funnel is and things like that. So there's a combination, I would say, of the information that's coming in over here on the right hand side, and the reason why this breaks down the way that it does is really because of it's got the dollar values, which primarily again are coming from Go High Level. But I also, if I wanted to mix in QuickBooks or something like that, I could have that in this upper section as well. Um, the new business pipeline. So this, very quickly could be a uh, level of opportunities that we have across things, and then I would use a combination of fireflies plus where things are at in my funnel and Go High Level. All of this stuff down here, there's independent tools that we have that I've integrated in for my methodology, where I've just said, hey, look, when people are going through like implementing things, I want to be able to know who's at the base level and then who's a little further along as well, right? So who's actually developing things. And then on the build queue side, we have different tasks that get assigned to different people on the team. And so this is where you could kind of see a bit of those kind of things as well. Like, hey, look, we get emails in or messages into the team to go take care of different things. And then the video pipeline, this is all stuff that's in Notion. So all of this stuff is pretty easy to track inside of Notion. And so that's where that information is coming from. So hopefully that kind of helps as well to at least just get a sense of things. So again, I see that um, Claude has finished its process of things. So I wanted to come back and just share this on the screen. So um, I'm letting it create the connections that it needs and go through and develop the pipeline. Now you start to see what is it going to look like in the end as well. So let me just maximize this one more time. So now you kind of see like recent meetings, client accounts you could have here, D3 social posts, and then the sales pipeline and where things reside as well. And then you could see down here your D3 marketing operational dashboard live. It pulls fresh every time. Recent meetings, last 6 fireflies, blah, blah, blah. Client accounts, all 7 accounts from your onboarding base are sorted active first, 5 active, 2 inactive, etc. And then we've got team workspaces. So the where it mentions connectors, so this is my private version of Go High Level. The most recent 15 tasks that are assigned with the assignee and their status badges and the sales pipeline as well, right? So there's some deliverables that I think it's saying that, hey, look, I can't do these and add these in here until you start to add in the data. But this is how this thing starts to take shape. It really starts to quickly show you where things are at and how to best leverage um, leverage the actual data as well. I'm not going to connect Go High Level for obvious reasons in here, but we should be able to connect Airtable. So I'm going to try that next. For the social posts, I want you to use your Airtable connection, and I want you to connect to the D3 social posts Airtable and leverage that for understanding how frequently we're posting, and a little bit of maybe the theme that we're posting under at a particular time, and whether it's top of funnel, middle funnel, or bottom of funnel. Put in maybe like the last 10 or 15 posts in that social post category, but use your Airtable connection to get that information. See if it actually finds the right Airtable, because that'll be the next question. Will be, hey, does it have access to the right Airtable or not? And if not, I can copy out a link and drop it in, but I'm going to see if it can find it just from me describing the Airtable that I wanted it to go grab. Yeah, so in my instructions, I actually include just going through a little bit of those while I'm waiting for Claude here. Um, One of the things that I do see as well is that it has access to uh, not just my fireflies, because one of the things that I'll pop in just a second, and I'll have it anonymize the most recent meetings that I've had whenever I do this, so that we're not, not sharing, everything that's in fireflies. But I do think there's an opportunity to just tell it, hey, look, pull from fireflies as well, and start to build out that sales pipeline section, because I think there's an opportunity for everybody there that has an online or AI note taker that maybe isn't leveraging this. But I think just with some basic tools and capabilities, I think between you don't even necessarily have to have go high level. You could say, hey, look, I'm going to build most of this out between Notion, Airtable if you wanted it. Um, let's see if I can update the artifact here. There we go. Top of funnel, middle funnel. That actually looked pretty sharp. But I don't see any data in there yet. So I wonder why. 181 posts go back to November 2025. Hmm. I don't see any data in the D3 social post content intelligence part. Can you add the actual data that you have for my posts so that I could see real data in there? How many per week? How many this month? Top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel? While it's doing that, I'm going to drop it in the next prompt as well. I want you to use my fireflies, but I want you to anonymize the results so that we're not giving away actual names or accounts or anything like that in the data. But I'd like for you to use fireflies for this next prompt and actually show me a sales pipeline based on just Firefly's data alone. So score the individual calls, and then also provide information with that relates to building a sales pipeline inside of this dashboard as well. After this loads, I've got another prompt that's inside of my script that I'll sort of layer in here. So that's this one here. Um, oh, whoop, that I'm not giving away actual accounts or anything like that. Like you, yeah. So I have a prompt that is here, and I'm gonna pop it in right there. There you go. Yeah, so that should fill us in. It won't be a go high level connection down here like it shows down here right now. What it'll do is fill that in. I need to try and understand what happened though with the other parts of this. Social post content. Can you add the actual data from bottom of the font? Yeah, it's still not responding to that. So I may have to copy this out and put it back in one more time. Category counts from the 100 records with dates. Let me go. It's doing the social posts right now. So there's the data. I just want it right here. this is how these things go. I mean, I one of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand is like all the hours spent, I would say after hours, weekends, and things like that, just to get these things prepped. But I mean, typically what I try and do for people whenever I have prompts or whatever that'll give you a jump start, I just like providing that because I know in my own walk with a lot of the stuff, if it weren't for other people that were ahead of me and being able to watch them and see what they were thinking about and then putting my own spin on it, um, I wouldn't be currently where I am with my business either, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to start sharing this stuff because I think, as I was explaining to somebody earlier today, I feel like so much of this is coming so much faster now, and there's so many of these tools that do the same thing. How do you decide how do I decide which tool to use, and how do I actually leverage that and connect it and do some actual things that will impact the business that I have in a positive way? Let me let me just minimize this again really quickly. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back out to Airtable. It looks to me like it has the right um, it looks to me like it has the right information. It looks to me like it is looking at my actual Airtable, given the fact that it has, data um, that it's pulled. But I just sort of want to make sure at the end of the day that it's not doing something else, and I might have to come back and pull it back just a little bit. But let's just see what happens whenever it updates the artifact here and shows us what the data looks like, because I think that there's a yeah, looks to me like it did it and then it quickly like undid it. So here's the dashboard again. Um, it had all this data in there for one split second before I clicked the button to share the screen, and then it pulled away. So let me try refreshing this and see what it does. Yeah. Right now it's out pulling those Fireflies scripts. So Fireflies again is my AI note taker. And it's grabbing that and then anonymizing things, and so it's using a sales, or excuse me, using a sub agent to analyze the Fireflies scripts themselves and kind of come back with a view of where did things fall in terms of the overall sales pipeline here as well. But after it's finished, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it go back through and create refresh the data on the social post, because again, I mean, there might be a value to somebody that's watching their own business where they're saying, hey, look, I want to be able to regularly see this stuff. I want to see what's coming out and where do things fall, and things like that. I've even had clients say, look, I want a independent dashboard of my own, and this is what comes to mind, at least for me, is sure, we could create something like this that just sits on a page all the time and is available for people to look at, where their social posts, who's interacting, and things like that. Um, I also, though, at the end of the day, I mean, I really want people to go to the platforms. I want clients of mine to not just sit and rely on dashboards, but also if you're doing stuff in social media, if you and you're not being social, um, then it sort of leads to like a lack of engagement. And I've seen it repeatedly where I've got clients that they don't like their own posts, they don't comment on their own posts, they don't have other people that do the same. And maybe they have a brand new company, right? It's really hard to get engagement for those companies unless people are interacting. Um, and I see it certainly with my own stuff as well. So if I'm busy doing other things and I'm not posting or getting out here and doing stuff then I certainly see it, especially here on LinkedIn and other places. Um, yeah, where people just kind of pass by because of the fact that they're not seeing anything worth engaging with. And so um, again, like, this this dashboard for me is just more or less, good for an example. Um, the other version is the one that, that I really put a lot of thought into in terms of the things that we would show here, right? So the items that are on this dashboard were well thought out in terms of where things fall, and how the business is overall performing. So it shows a lot of that information as well. And I mean, again, given the amount um, that we use Go High Level, Notion, and AI note takers, it was pretty easy to say, look, I could see a level of this data coming together in this way, and to show me like how many people got contacted by my team, how many people engaged in things that we have, and then where overall is the business performing as well. And then if there are things where we're at risk, I'd rather know in a dashboard and then go follow up directly anyway. So that's why this is helpful. I feel like it inside of my business. And so just to kind of come back here again, it's still sort of circulating. So then once this thing is done, um, I feel like you have two choices. So if you have a tool like Go High Level where you can put in an HTML page, you could tell it structure this in a way that you want it to be, um, you want it to be displayed. Uh, well, I guess you really have three options. It depends on how public you want it to be. So let me put it that way. And this is why I'll structure it this way. So inside of Go High Level, you can create an endless amount of web pages, funnel pages, whatever, and I could just tell Cowork, I need it in a version that I can drop inside of a code element in uh, Go High Level. So the way that looks, just real quickly, is like this. So if I go back to High Level here, let's close out the social post. The way it looks, you can create an endless amount of these sites, and I could just say, hey, look, I want to create a new funnel. And inside of here, you could see I could create from blank. I could build it with AI, which honestly, their AI builder has turned out phenomenal lately. I mean, I kind of questioned this thing early on whether or not if it was really going to be able to do this, but I mean, these guys have really built a solid tool. I was showing somebody yesterday. Um, I think it was with 10 words. With 10 words, we built probably like a 3-page newsletter, and inside of Go High Level. So all we did was come in here and turned on the newsletter generator, and then said, hey, look, we want to generate a newsletter around, I don't know, value content marketing or something like that. And so anyway, the way this would work for our dashboard, if you were going to do it and Go High Level, you're going to click create in here. I'm going to say, you know, this will be the D3 demo dashboard. And then we're going to create it from there. Once it spins up, all I have to do is add one line to this funnel. So I add a step here. Create the funnel. I'm going to create from blank. The one element's going to be a code element. And I've created, I don't know how many of these, even my own assessment on my web page. If I come back here, this assessment, this one for taking the visibility diagnostic that we have. This is a go high level page. That's where this thing is running in the same sort of element that I'm showing you right now. So over here, I'm going to add a blank section. I just click the plus button up here. Down here, I'm going to type in code just to get to the element real quickly. So we add that code element in there. And then we click, edit the HTML, open code editor, and drop the code in. That's how easy it is. Save it, and then we're going to save like where it's going to be. So that's if you want it to be somewhat public. If all I wanted though is for this thing to be locally hosted, I mean, I could have this thing set in a way where it's setting on an actual server, or I could say, hey, look, every time it runs, I just need it to be here at a local level. And so you could see here. Just expand this guy. There we go. So we got 2 at the proposal stage, 4 active discussions, 1 stalled, 2 no next step flagged, right? So you got different ways of actually bringing those items about. And down here, I'm just going to say on the social posts, I need you to update the date again. There we go. Yeah, the one thing for May right now, if you were to look at my particular, not May, June, you were to look at my particular account, it's sitting waiting on a different tool to be ready for testing for social posts. So because of that, my next month's worth of posts actually aren't teed up. So right now, the last few posts are gonna come out in May. And then June, we have to have this tool ready to go so that my account for D3 can be used for testing it. And then the team's working on finalizing that tool right now so that we can better target in 2 different dimensions. So you think of content gets created at a let's say like a top level, middle level, and bottom of funnel sort of level. So top of level is going to be educational posts. Middle funnel, it really focuses in on this idea of how do I get people to migrate towards my solution. Bottom of funnel is like, what is your offer? What are the things that you do with clients? What are the results that they've had? And all those kinds of things really provide that next level of engagement for people. Across the top, though, the other thing I was describing to somebody recently is the secondary dimension that I don't think anybody ever really talks about is this idea that you need content to really be able to focus in on another dimension with people so that you can kind of get to just trying to bring up the picture here so you could see what this would look like. Excuse my scrolling for a second. I have several examples up here and then just have to scroll through these real quickly. But you kind of think about the way that this might play out at an overall level is you want to be able to bring people along in like an ultimate journey. And I think there's a 2x2 matrix that has to be spelled out for people. And the way that this would play out is it really needs to be able to focus in on who do you help, what do you reject, and then also what only you can say, right? So, if you sort of look at content in that fashion, and how it's delivered, it's a bit of a different thing than what I'm doing today, where all of our content only focuses in on this top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel sort of matrix, right? So that's the reason why I kind of showed you that before showing you this, so you could see um, across I don't know what period of time. So this is something I would clarify again with the dashboard. There have been 181 posts, and then you kind of see where they're. And this is the way it's supposed to break out. Is it's supposed to be 50% of them should be top of funnel, 30% of them should be middle of funnel, and 20% should be bottom of funnel, based on the structure for the algorithm that I've sort of provided. So you can kind of see how that plays out in this content look. Um, so anyway, so I would recommend, like, anybody that's looking at these sorts of things and looking at building a dashboard. Again, I'm going to post this video along with the script that I've used to generate this back into my school community on LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube. I will post a link to the school community. All you have to do is join me there. It's free. It's entirely free to join. The last thing I wanted to mention is we just had our very first best kept secret session. The whole idea around this best kept secret um, workshop series is, what I want to do is get a group of people together that are really interested in this kind of stuff. Like, how do I use Claude or any version of AI to my real business advantage? How do I build the stuff that I need inside of my business, and build tools that actually will help me do the things that I need to do inside of my business, so that I'm not the best kept secret in my industry. One of the sort of jokes that I've had with people before is that it's amazing to me how many people talk to me about just feeling invisible, right? I mean, there's all this content that you can create with AI, which is good. I mean, I think it's important to have stuff continually coming out, and then leveraging the AI as best as possible is something that you should do. But I mean, I had somebody tell me, or just earlier today, that everything that they write with AI doesn't sound like them. And my first question was, well, are you using a voice skill? And they said, well, what is that? Well, I mean, these are the kinds of things that we share in the Best Kept Secret workshop series. I'm going to continue to build, right? So I have a group of people getting together for the Best Kept Secret um, series already. What I've told them is, look, we're going to continue this on, and every month I plan on sort of building from where we were. And so we're going to continue to build, okay, so now that you got skills, let's get into co-work and understand co-work. Let's eventually get together and talk a little bit about how to use Claude Code to your advantage, and sort of go along in this journey, so that you could build stuff that'll impact your business. And I mean, I tell people all the time, I mean, I sit around now, and it used to not be this way, and I think of a business problem and I go, well, I wonder if I could solve that. I wonder if I could solve that business problem with the tools that I have. If you're interested in signing up for the next Best Kept Secret, I also will publish a link under the video for this back inside of LinkedIn and YouTube. Um, right now, I don't have any of the other elements put together, like the sales page and all that kind of stuff. I have the one from the last series that just needs to get updated and ready for this next month. But if you're interested in that, you could join the wait list. If you're already in that group, no worries, you're going to get an invite, and we're going to continue to build stuff throughout time. And hopefully this has been of value, and I look forward to seeing you in my school community. And hopefully we'll get the opportunity to work on some of this stuff together, and share some best practices. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it, and appreciate you being here, and look forward to doing this again soon.